guys, it's G and back with another video. If this is your first time ever seeing my face, please hit the subscribe button down below to join the G gang. If not, then hey girl hey, and let's get into the video. Today we are going to be doing a new video that I had said that I wanted to start for this month and just see how it goes. Basically we're gonna call it our mystery makeup Mondays. So I had gotten this idea from Bailey Sarian and Brittany Vaughn, and these are the YouTube channels right here. Like, those are my girls. I love watching them whenever they put on their makeup. So I was like, let me do it, because not only do I like murder mysteries, well, not like, I just find it interesting. Not only do I find them interesting, but it also makes it a little bit more culpable when I do my makeup for like an hour. So let's get straight into it, guys. We are going to start off with a little one that I thought, a little murder mystery story that I thought was wild. And honestly, when I started reading it, I just could not believe it. John Venables was a middle child of 3. He was the son to Neil and Susan Venables. He was born in 1982 in Walton, England. During his schooling days, he had really bad trouble with his behavior. He used to have mood swings that would make him go a little crazy. He also wasn't very keen on attending classes. During his school days, he had an incident where he tried to choke out a kid with a ruler, but was luckily stopped by the headmistress, or if you want to call her teacher. So yeah, he was stopped because he was acting a little crazy, a little cray-cray. And the headmistress said, like, basically this was the craziest thing I've ever seen being at a school. Like, this boy has problems. So he was seen by a psychologist, and basically the psychologist was like, yeah, he's got some behavioral issues. You think? So as it goes on, he also starts to lack in his attendance at school. His mood swings get worse, and his anger problems are just off the chain. Basically, like, he needs to get a grip. Like, get it together. In school, sometimes he would bang his head against the wall just to be attention seeking. Like, he wanted that attention. I don't know why though, because at home his parents used to smother him with love and gifts and just seemed to be like the best parents they could be for him, honestly. So I don't know what else he wanted, because he was basically getting everything that he wanted. Even the other parents saw that he was just very attention seeking. Like, he would throw things at other students and try to cut himself too. Not only bang your head, but trying to cut yourself too. Like, boy, get it together. What is up with you? And he was between the ages of 8 and 8, I believe, when he was doing all this extra stuff, and he was just trifling. Back to the ruler situation. So after the ruler situation had happened, after he tried to strangle a boy with a ruler, the headmistress, like, obviously, like I said, pried him off, but he also got expelled from his school, because you're like 8 and you're trying to kill people. Like, what is up with you? Like, you're trying to choke some kid out. For what reason? For why? Now, to focus on his family just a little bit, his family, like I said, showered him with love. But not only did they shower him with love, they gave him gifts, as I said prior. And their family wasn't rich, but they were financially stable enough to provide for their kids, which is also plus. Like, kids need things. You need to be able to provide, and they were able to do that for him. So I don't know why he was acting so crazy. Unfortunately, at a young age, his parents did divorce, which little John did not take lightly. He started also acting out a little bit more due to this. Not only did he start acting out, but his mom started to have psychiatric problems, which I'm just thinking was depression. She also was said to have a lot of feelings of overwhelmingness, basically. Which, damn, lady, you got 3 kids and you split the time with the father, so I guess it was just hard on her. So let's move on to the other little boy, Robert Thompson. We're just gonna call him Rob for short, because your girl has a very short attention span. So Rob was the child number 5 of 7, and he was the son of Anne, and I honestly could not find the father's name. I'm so sorry, I could not find the father's name. And he too was born in 1982, and he was born 10 days after little John. Oh, did I mention they were all born in March? I don't know why I got so confused because I'm a March baby and I'm Pisces, so I don't know if they're Pisces babies, but I hope they're not Pisces babies. I'm just saying. At this time, he lived in the town over from John, I believe. He too had a lot of issues at school. He had behavioral issues as before, like John. He also didn't attend school so much that he was almost illiterate. He would say that he couldn't read hard words, which, I mean, if you're like 8 years old, then bro, I can't read hard words either. We just learned. We're learning together. Like, what? He was also bullied a little bit for sucking his thumb and for other reasons as well, just because a lot of people did not like his family. About his family, they're a mess. Not gonna lie, so I'm not surprised that a lot of people did not like them. He had a rough childhood, basically. His dad used to abuse him in every way possible, sexually, mentally, physically, every way possible. The dad abused him, and this took a toll on Robert. What the heck am I saying? Robert's family was also just not financially stable. They were pretty poor, honestly. They couldn't really afford to get Rob the things that he wanted to get in life. And honestly, Rob's mom and dad had eventually split apart, which I don't really look at as a bad thing, but the mom took it pretty hard and turned her head to alcoholism. She took that pretty rough, but to me, I would be like saying, I'm so happy, like, this man is out of my life, like, get him out of my head. But she took it pretty hard, like, why you want that man with you? He hurting your kids and he hurting you. Get him the hell out. So all in all, what we know right now is that basically John's life was just way better than Robert's. Onward, back to little John. Remember when he choked that kid out with a ruler, or tried to? Choked him so hard that he turned red? Yeah, so he got expelled, like I had said. And obviously he had to go to school. So his mom was like, you're transferring. You're going to a different school. He gets transferred to this new school. And for a year, every single thing is fine. Like, everything is fine. He's like excelling. He's going to class. He hasn't gotten into any trouble. And then a year into going to the school, a new face arrived. And yep, you guessed it. It's little Rob. At this time, they were both 10 years old, y'all. 10 years old. They're little chicklings. Shortly after the kids had become friends, Neil, John's father, was warned by people from the neighborhood that please be careful with their son hanging out with little Robbie, because his family is just not a good influence. And he didn't really take heed to it. Like, he heard it, but like, really, if your son wants to play with somebody, really, what can you do? But then it's like, your son gonna get into trouble, but your son was already in trouble. He seemed like the troublemaker in his old school. Isn't that why he got expelled? But to each their own. I'm not gonna knock what they were trying to tell Mr. Neil. Now, when the kids were becoming friends, it was said that John was very repulsed by Robert. And he was repulsed by Robert due to the fact for his lack of wanting to listen to authority, basically. Like, he was like, bro, you gotta listen to people who are older. And Robert was like, no, you don't. So with that curiosity, that's when little Rob was like, I don't really like you, but I want to learn your ways. And that's how they forged the friendship, y'all. And as they became friends, Robert would eventually start giving John gifts. Not just any old gifts, because Robert had to do it out in style. He had to give John stolen gifts. And in return, John would let Robert ride his bike. Like, what? These kids were crazy at 10, literally. You're probably thinking that, oh, Robert is going to corrupt little old John, but as we have seen, John has a very sinister side already to himself. And it was said that John had evil thoughts that he just didn't want to execute on his own. So he was able to do them with little old Robert. After they had became friends, they quickly took on very illegal activities, like jumping into little old ladies' backyards, or basically just anybody's backyard, and just jumping in and scaring the living hell out of people, or going into backyards and stealing things, or shoplifting. Like, it escalated to shoplifting. 10-year-olds shoplifting. The way that they said that they would do it was basically that they would sit in the store and take things and tell the store clerk that they were waiting on their mom, and then they would just hijack whatever they got and ran out the door. Nobody was ever thinking that that these 10-year-olds were doing this for real, trying to steal. That was crazy to me, because I would have never thought that these 10-year-olds were trying to steal. So basically, right now, they're just really bad boys, really bad kids that need to be controlled. But it's about to take a twisted turn, because in February 12th, a Friday, John and Robert were at a shopping center when they were looking for children targets. Yes, y'all, they were 10 years old looking for targets. Not only were they looking for a target, but they were also shoplifting. Later on, they told police that they were just looking for a kid to push into oncoming traffic. It wasn't supposed to escalate to what it did. Like, that makes it any better. But nonetheless, they found a target. Well, they initially had gotten a target and tried to lead the first target off, but was luckily stopped by their mom. It was prevented by their mom, so that baby was good to go. But they were able to find another target, a 2-year-old named James Burglar. We're gonna call him James. They were able to lead him off hand in hand out of the shopping center, and was only realized by his mother missing after she hadn't seen him for a few minutes. The two boys, John and Robert, had led little James, to a canal and had dropped him, not into the canal, but near the canal, like a couple feet, where on his head. They dropped him on his head, where he had sustained obviously several injuries to his head and his face, and was seen very distraught by 38 people. 38 people had seen this little boy distraught and crying with scratches all over his face, and nobody had intervened. Like, come on, people, do better. But I digress. Eventually, 2 people had chosen to finally intervene and ask questions as to what was going on to the 2 10-year-old boys and the 2-year-old. And it was said that the boys had either said that he was lost and they were trying to take him home, or that they were his little brother. I mean, James was their little brother. Eventually, the boys walk James back to their little town, the little village of Walton, and take him to like a train center-ish place. I don't know, like, I feel like it's one of those places where there's trains just sitting and just pass by, but it's like a railroad track, basically. It's deserted. It's not like a train station where there's people coming in and out, but it's like a railroad track. And it was right across from the Walton police station. Like, they were brave with it. They weren't even like, they were just really super brave. Oh my god, I put this on before my other shit. Too late, it's already on. So they take him to the train tracks, and that's when they begin to torture James. Like, how sick do you have to be? To start off the torture, they poured blue modeling paint into his left eye. Modeling paint that they had stole in the first place. I don't know, these kids were just super messed up. They also threw stones and bricks at him. A little baby 2-year-old throwing stones and bricks at him while he's just crying and trying to wonder, like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, who does that? What kid does that? Like, they also placed batteries in James's mouth, and it was also said that they placed it in his booty, but they never found any batteries in his butt, so they don't really know if that's true or not. But for some reason they think that they did do it, but no evidence was ever found, and the kids never said that it happened, and I think they denied that they ever did that, to be honest. Finally, to end it all off, the boys basically put a 22 iron bar, I think they call it a fish plate, onto James, and it was said that James had sustained at least 10 skull fractures from this incident. Honestly, this is just making me so sad. Like, anything with kids just makes me sad, and it's just like unfortunate that this baby had to die at the hands of other kids, like 10-year-olds. This is like a whole other set of bullying. This is not even bullying, this is just destruction. Like, what the hell? In total, it was said that little James had about 42 blows to his body, and it was so many blows that they could not determine which one was the fatal blow that killed him. Nobody knows. Like, they couldn't even figure it out. To end it all off, they laid James down on a train track and covered him with rubble. It was unclear in my research if he was already dead or if they just did that and tried to I don't know. I think he might have already been dead, to be honest. And when they figured it out, they just covered him in the rubble to try to hide him, and basically waited for a train to run over him, because it would have been a way for them to just cover up the murder, and could have just been like, oh, he got ran over by a train, that's how he died. He was later discovered 2 days later, cut in half, because a train did run over him. So like I said, February 14th, little James was found by the police. This is such an unfortunate story. Every time I think about it, I just get so sad. People also believe that there was like a sexual aspect to the crime, because they found that he had some damage to his genitals, but the boys, again, like I said, with the whole batteries and the butt thing, they still deny it. It's like, what can they really do to get the truth out of them, you know? So they just was like, okay, maybe they were just bugging and they didn't really do nothing with him, but they just, I guess, took their word. But I don't see how they would just take their word, but whatever. Upon investigation, they could not at first figure out how this happened to this little boy, but from the time James had went missing in the shopping center, they had a mind that, of course, it had to have started at the shopping center. So returning to the shopping center for investigation, they realized that there was a very low resolution footage of little James being lured out hand in hand, holding hands with John and Robert, and walking out of the shopping center. So that's how they were able to finally realize how it all started. But then it's like, how do we find the killers? Like, where do we go? So they took it to media. Of course, they ran it on TV, and somebody who knew John Venables was able to identify him and point the police in the right direction as to who this had looked like, and thus the two boys were arrested. When the police had rounded up the boys, they were shocked to have seen that they were only 10 years old, because from the video footage, which was low resolution, so I don't blame them, it seemed that the boys were in their teens, which we all know boys kind of grow pretty fast when they're in that little young age slot. Like, they get really tall quickly, they have a lot of like bone on them, like, I don't know how to explain, but they just grow super fast, and they don't look their age until they're like 15, 16, and they kind of look a little lanky or whatever. I don't blame them too much, but they were only 10 years old when they had committed this crime, which to me is still disgusting. But it was shown that forensic tests were able to not only see that they had the blue modeling paint on their clothes and shoes, but some of James's blood was on Robert. So they were able to positively DNA test that, and that's when they were charged with murder. They were charged with murder on the 20th of February, 1993. And they appeared at the South Yeaton Court custody on the 22nd of February, 1993. And during this trial with the kids, the family of the murderers were forced to move to different parts of the country and change their identity, because so many people were mad and they wanted to hurt the families, honestly. But at the same time, I don't know, I feel like the kids were the issue, but a lot of them were saying that hello, it's not the kids, because the kids were only 10. It had to have been the family that had been the issue to make the kids this way. But then again, it's like, John had a good life and Robert did not. So we have two different parts of the life cycle over here, one good, one bad, and they both came out rotten apples. So what really was the issue to cause them? Like, are people just born evil? That's what I want to know. Anyway, long story short, for the trial, we all know what happened, because there was just too much evidence on John and Robert. So they were, of course, charged with murder, of course, like I said, and they pleaded guilty. And they were, at this time, they were only 11 years old. I think they had just turned 11, to be honest, which is just crazy. That's not a good birthday gift. Do the crime, you gotta do the time. And that's when they were deemed the youngest murderers of the 20th century. Freaking crazy. The judge had determined that the boys were going to be detained for at Her Majesty's pleasure. And if you guys don't know what that means, because this is not a term that we really have in the US, it basically means that you're gonna stay as long as I think that you need to stay until you're rehabilitated enough to leave. So you're gonna be here for a minute. They did have to set a minimum time, and the minimum time at first was 8 years. Minimum of 8 years, which I still don't think that's long enough for what they did for little old James, for what they did to little old James. Like, that's not okay. After the trial, they had eventually changed it to 10 years. But then the Sun's editor, I believe, had brought in a petition saying that the boys should have at least 15 years, meaning that they wouldn't get out till they were 25. And if this petition was signed by almost 300,000 people, and of course, because of the petition, it was passed, and now the boys would not get out till they were 25 years old. After the trial, like I said again, all the boys were held in separate centers. They were not supposed to have contact with each other after the situation. So during their stay, they were treated for their behavioral issues, and they were also taught that they needed to conceal their identity and to not tell anybody who they were. So they were taught on how to conceal their identity, because upon release, if they ever got released, they would have been given new identities. It's very unclear to me if they were ever going to see their parents again, but I don't know. It's unclear to me at this point. But I just feel like, damn, you lost your kids, but your kids are murderers, so do I care that much? Not really. In 2001, 8 years after the initial crime and sentencing, both boys were released upon the fact that it was said that they were now rehabilitated and were able to live a normal life. Apparently they had went through enough psychiatric care that they were able to be out on their own again. So John and Robert were released into the world with new identities and were to live a normal life. Now, if anybody were to try and figure out their identities, it would mean jail time, because it was under injunction or something like that. I don't even know what that means, but they said that, so I'm gonna say it to y'all. So upon release, they were also given lifelong probation, and one of the terms for their probation was, again, to never ever 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 contact each other ever again, or else you would be brought back to prison. But you know, their release did not last very long due to the fact, well, not there, I guess his John in specific returned back to prison in March of 2010 due to the fact that he was in possession of child abuse pictures, child pornography. So he was returned back to prison, and then a couple days later was shortly released, and then returned again a couple days later in March 2010 because he was caught distributing those same pictures. Like, John, what's wrong with you? Like, you've been had issues. You went to the freaking, you were in jail for how many years, and this is what you're doing after they let you out? Like, really? This time he pleaded guilty and was imprisoned for 2 more years. Like, John just has it really bad, basically. Like, I don't know. Like, he was the one with the good life, but he just made it seem like his life was so bad. Like, in 2013, he was released again. He was released again. They're giving this man another try in society. They let him be released, and he does again some other F shit, some BS, some other BS. In 2017, John returns back to prison, or was arrested for again the same charges, being in possession of child pornography / child abuse photos. Like, John, what the heck is up with you? And then pleads guilty a few months later of the crime and receives 3 years and 4 months in jail time. So the last thing that I really read about Mr. John was that basically he was very keen on letting people know who he was, which is why they didn't really want to let John out this time in 2010, because he just wanted everybody to know that he was a murderer. Like, he was proud of it. But they had spent like over $5 million on John. So throughout this whole charade, that like, yo, we're paying money to give you a new identity and doing all this extra stuff, and then you want people to know who you are? Like, are you crazy? Obviously. So he had let somebody know in prison who he was, and that person was like, I'm guessing, first of all, I know child stuff in jail doesn't really go well. Like, if you do like bad things to kids, I'm pretty sure the people in jail want to hurt you. So I don't know if John wasn't thinking or what, but he told this man who he was and what he's done, and that he was a murderer to a child and blah blah blah. He told the wrong person, and the next thing you know, John gets a lot of boiling water in his goddamn face. John is now begging people, 2018 I believe this happened, that he wants to get plastic surgery to get rid of what has happened to his face. And I'm pretty sure in England plastic surgery is paid by other taxpayers' money, so he's trying to beg people, the taxpayers, to spend money to fix his face that was messed up by the boiling water. Like, what? And to this day, because of his imprisonment, his identity shouldn't even really be held up, because it was under the rule that your new identity could be held up due to the fact that you didn't commit any other crimes. And he's committed other crimes, and as far as I read, they're still trying to hold his identity true. And during this whole facade, he's at least had 2 different identities, because this man just keeps wanting people to know who he is. Like, bro, you're not special. You guys are probably wondering what happened to Robert. Robert went on to his new life with his new identity and has never gotten into trouble after that. Mr. Robert Thomas, like the one with the bad family, was the one that continued on and did his thing in life. Because he has a new identity, nobody really knows where he is or what he does, but he's never gotten into trouble after the situation, and I think it's because he had the shitty end of the stick. It was also said that John, oh my god, I hope I wasn't saying right, like Robert had the shitty end of the stick, but it was also said that John was the whole mastermind behind the situation. And now, seeing where they are now, of course it was definitely John, in my opinion. I mean, it was never said that he was a mastermind as far as my research went, but I can tell by the way he's acting now, he was definitely the mastermind. That's the end of the story, guys. So I'm going to finish up my makeup and come back, because all I love to do is put these lashes on and do my lips, and I'll be back with you guys. So yeah, guys, this is the final look, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's first Mystery Makeup Monday, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Like, comment, and subscribe, and bye, guys.